Okay, good morning, class. This lecture will focus on the bony framework of the back, forming the axial support of the human body. The back is not merely muscular; it is actually fundamentally an osteo ligamentous column designed for support, protection, weight transmission, and controlled mobility. When we speak of the osteology of the back, we are essentially referring to the vertebral column, the sacrum, the coccyx, their articulation and structural specialization. Now, let's look at this. Number one, now let's look at the overview of the vertebral column. This vertebral column is segmented, but yet it's actually continuous structure extending from the skull to the pelvis. It consists of 7 cervical vertebra, 12 thoracic vertebra, 5 lumbar vertebra, 5 fused sacral vertebra, which forms the sacrum, of course, 3 to 5 fused coccygeal vertebra forming the coccyx. Okay, now in adults, 26 bones in total because the sacrum and coccyx are fused unit. Okay, so functionally it serves to support the head and trunk. It transmits the body weight to the pelvis, protect the spinal cord, provide attachment for muscles and rib, and allow flexibility without compromising stability. Okay, now the typical vertebral, maybe before differentiating regions, we must first of all understand the architecture of a typical vertebra. Now, each vertebra has a vertebral body. Okay, and now, of course, its anterior, cylindrical mass, weight bearing component that is composed largely of cancellous bone. Okay, now the size increases from cervical to lumbar as you go down due to increasing load. So the more load the vertebra carries, the more the size of the vertebral body. Then we have the vertebral arc, okay, which forms the posterior boundary of the vertebral foramen. Now it consists the peduncles, of course, connects the body to the arc, contains the lamina which meets posteriorly. Okay, now we also have the vertebral foramen, which encloses the spinal cord. All foramina collectively form the vertebral canal. Okay, all of them, because their vertebrae are stacked. Okay, now processes, there are 7 in total. We have the spinous process, we have 2 transverse processes, we have 4 articular processes. That's, you expect 2 superiorly and 2 inferiorly. Now these processes serve as muscle attachment points, articular points, leverage arms for movement. Okay, so it's actually, this is actually the basic design that is modified in each region. Now let's talk about the cervical vertebra, C1 to C7. It's the smallest vertebra, but highly specialized. The general features include small bodies, is a very small body, large triangular vertebral foramen, transverse foramina, for vertebral vessels, most often bifid spinous process, that's C2 to 6. Okay, now there are unique cervical vertebra like the atlas. The atlas is C1. Okay, it has no body, it has no spinous process. Anterior and posterior arches, the superior articular facets articulate with the occipital condyles, and of course it helps us to to allow nodding. Okay, that's yes movement. Then we have the axis, which is the C2 axis. Okay, has the dense odontoid process. Okay, that's the dense pivot for rotation, and of course enables no movement at all. Then we have the vertebral prominence, which is the C7. Okay, C7 is a landmark vertebra. Okay, so this one is for long palpable spinous process. Okay, of course I already said that it's a landmark muscle. Right, now let's talk about the thoracic vertebra. We have the T1 to T12. Okay. Now what are the distinguished features of the thoracic vertebra? It has a heart-shaped body, circular vertebral foramen, a long downward long downward and sloping spinous process, and of course the costal facets for rib articulations are also present. Okay. Now each typical thoracic vertebral has a superior and inferior costal demifacet for the rib head, and a transverse costal facet for rib tubercle, and of course functionally thoracic region emphasizes stability over mobility really, and of course for the protection of the thoracic organ. And here flexion and extensions are limited. Of course, you expect rotation to be moderate. Now, what about the lumbar vertebra? That's L1 to L5. Of course, the largest and the strongest vertebra. Okay, largest and the strongest. Their key features is that they have a massive, what we call kidney-shaped bodies, triangular vertebral foramen, short, thick spinous processes, long transverse processes. Okay, and the special features is that it has a mammillary process, sorry, and of course accessory processes. Now, the functional significance of the lumbar vertebra is that it bears the greatest weight. So remember, I said that the body will definitely be bigger, allows significant flexion, and of course extension. And of course, you expect limited rotation here. And clinically, this is actually the most common region for, disc prolapse and mechanical back pain. Okay, now talking about the sacrum. Sacrum is formed by the fusion of the five sacral vertebra. The shape is triangular, it's concave anteriorly, and of course, you expect it to be convex posteriorly. The important features is the anterior surface, for example, has four pairs of anterior sacral foramina, and posterior surface has a median sacral crest. That's the fuse spinous process, and then four pairs of posterior sacral foramina. And then superiorly, you expect this sacral promontory and articulates with the lumbar vertebra of that's L5. Then laterally, there's an auricular surface that articulates with the ilium. And of course, functionally, you expect that transfer body weight from vertebral column to the pelvis. You expect it to transfer vertebral column from the highest bearing vertebra to the pelvis, and of course form the posterior wall of the pelvis to protect the sacral nerves. Now, what about the coccyx? The coccyx is small triangular bone that is formed by 3 to 5 fused vertebra. And the functions its attachment for pelvic floor muscle, of course supports body when sitting, leaning back. Okay, although it may be small, it has a major clinical importance in coccygenemia and pelvic floor dysfunction. Um, there's something called the curvature of the vertebral column, because the vertebral column is not straight. Okay, it has a physiological curve that is cervical lordosis, thoracic kyphosis, lumbar lordosis, and of course sacral kymphosis. Okay, so the primary curves here is formed by the thoracic and the sacral region. The secondary curve is from the cervical, that's developed when infant lifts their head. Okay, then we have the lumbar curve, which develop when the child begins to walk. And now these curves increase resilience, okay, improve shock absorption, and then of course enhance balance. The intervertebral disc, that's when we look at the osteological relationship, though technically fibrocartilaginous, the fibrocartilaginous discs, they are essential for vertebral osteology. So, and of course, you expect each disc to has an annulus fibrosus, that's the fibrocartilage, and of course, nucleus pulpus, which is the gel-like at the center of the disc. Of course, you expect this intervertebral discs to help with shock absorption, allow slight movement. Okay, otherwise what you just be hearing is the sound of bone. Okay, and of course it helps to distribute load, and of course you can have disc herniation occurs very very well, and this occurs when nucleus produced through the annulus, and most commonly in the L4 to L5. Even from the L5 to S1 it happens. Okay, so um, if we have to compare their regional functionality. The cervical region is for mobility because it does a lot of nodding and no, no, no. Okay, the thoracic region is for protection. The lumbar region is actually for weight bearing. The sacral region is force transmission, and of course, the coccyx is the perineal muscle attachment where muscles of the pelvis attaches to. Of course, very importantly, clinical anatomy, we can have spondylolisthesis, that's the vertebral spillage. We can have scoliosis when there's lateral curvature of the vertebra. Okay, we can have kyphosis when there's an exaggerated thoracic curve, and of course, we can also have lordosis. That's when there's an exaggerated lumbar curve, and of course, osteoporosis can occur. That's when you have vertebral compression fractures. Yes. Then of course, the L4, L3 to L4 or L4 to L5 is actually very important in lumbar puncture. Okay, so this is the complete osteology of the back. So I hope we meet next time. Thank you very much. Thank you.